Caitlin Clark took the WNBA and they set all-time ratings records.
Mm-hmm.
If Caitlin Clark's not in this, the list is nonsense. Who did the list? Time Magazine?
Yeah.
And there's no Caitlin Clark?
No, I don't think so.
That's idiotic. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yep. This might just be one of the most obvious and embarrassing snubs of Caitlin Clark's entire career, especially when you consider everything we've witnessed these past few weeks. Incredibly, Caitlin Clark was left off Time's prestigious 100 Most Influential People list. Names like Jalen Hurts and Simone Biles appeared, and even Ed Sheeran made the cut, who, let's be honest, mostly influences us to switch off the radio whenever he pops on. But get this, you're going to laugh when you hear which WNBA players actually made it onto the list. That's right, multiple WNBA players were included, yet Caitlin Clark, the woman who almost single-handedly catapulted the WNBA into mainstream popularity, apparently wasn't influential enough for Time. Let's set the record straight. Absolutely nobody has done more for women's sports in 2024 than Caitlin Clark. Yet despite her massive impact, the media continues to go out of its way to diminish her achievements. This isn't an isolated incident. There have been several examples in just the past weeks alone. The agenda against Caitlin Clark has become undeniably clear, and frankly, it's getting worse by the day. We're going to dig into exactly what's happening here and expose what the media is really up to. You won't believe some of these ridiculous takes. But first, smash that like button if you're tired of seeing Caitlin's accomplishments being downplayed.
So, number 22 from Indiana, makes history quite a lot. Makes history an awful lot.
So why is this snub so ridiculous? And how does it fit into a troubling trend that's sadly only getting worse? Well, here's exactly what's happening. The Caitlin Clark effect. Many assumed the hype around her would eventually fade, but it's only intensified, becoming bigger and more powerful. First, she passed up participating in Unrivaled and a potential payday of over $1 million. Instead, she managed to generate more fan excitement simply by attending a Kansas City Chiefs game with Taylor Swift than the entire Unrivaled season produced. Then, the Indiana Fever made some major moves in free agency, landing stars like Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, and other proven champions who are still performing at peak levels. This offseason has provided Caitlin Clark with her strongest supporting cast ever. The buzz around the team is undeniable, with fans and analysts alike seriously discussing championship possibilities. And following these roster upgrades came significant financial investments and strategic moves from sponsors and broadcasters, all leveraging Caitlin's skyrocketing popularity to further elevate women's basketball to unprecedented heights.
With such star power on those teams, it's really no surprise they're atop the list for the most games available for you to check out on a national scale.
The Fever secured an absolutely mind-blowing 41 out of 44 games on national television or major streaming platforms. Whether it's ABC, ESPN, or CBS, you can flip to virtually any major sports network this season, and there's a solid chance you'll catch Caitlin Clark casually pulling up from way downtown, hitting a buzzer beater, or sending the crowd into a frenzy.
Clark pulls it down, and this building knows what that means.
Just to put this unprecedented exposure into perspective, the next closest team is the Las Vegas Aces, and they're trailing well behind with 33 nationally televised games. That's a significant gap, especially when you consider that the Aces are loaded with talent and have consistently been among the league's best teams. Of course, not everyone's thrilled about Caitlin dominating the spotlight. Players like Nafisa Collier openly voiced frustration, questioning why Caitlin and the Fever would receive more national games than the reigning champion New York Liberty, who got 32 games. But let's be real, it doesn't take a genius to figure out why the networks are going all in on Caitlin Clark.
The reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever.
Then you had the Fever pulling off something truly unprecedented in women's basketball, selling out an exhibition game against the Brazilian national team. That's right, 15,000 tickets, completely gone in just minutes. Seriously, think about that. This isn't Manchester United or the Dallas Cowboys we're talking about. It's a WNBA exhibition game, selling out faster than most top-level sports events. And if that wasn't enough evidence of Caitlin's unprecedented drawing power, you now have 6 separate WNBA teams, including major franchises like the Atlanta Dream, the Chicago Sky, and the Washington Mystics, literally moving their home games against the Fever into massive NBA-sized arenas. These teams aren't shy about capitalizing on Caitlyn's magnetic star power to boost ticket sales, generate record-breaking revenue, and attract a whole new wave of fans to the game. It's the Caitlin Clark effect in action, transforming road games into can't-miss events and turning every venue into a guaranteed sellout. And now, to top it all off, there's this latest development.
Guys, I'm here to tell you, this is the first time an exhibition game has been picked up ever in WNBA history.
Remember that preseason game we mentioned earlier, the one that sold out 15,000 tickets in minutes? Well, now it's officially being broadcast nationally by ESPN. Think about how wild that is for a second. This isn't a playoff showdown or even a heated rivalry game. It's literally a preseason exhibition against the Brazilian national team, featuring players whose names only the most hardcore women's basketball fans would recognize. And yet ESPN, one of the biggest sports media giants on the planet, decided this was must-see TV. And speaking of must-see TV, let's not overlook what happened to the NCAA women's tournament ratings without Caitlin Clark this year. The Final Four and championship games saw viewership plummet by more than 10 million viewers each compared to when Caitlin played last season. That's not a dip, that's a free fall. And it makes the Caitlin Clark effect more obvious and measurable than ever before. Here's the reality. Team owners are cashing in on ticket sales and merchandise. Networks like ESPN, ABC, and CBS are seeing massive spikes in ratings and advertising dollars whenever Caitlin hits the court. And even the players themselves stand to cash in big time during upcoming CBA negotiations. The more eyes Caitlin brings to the league, the more leverage every player has at the bargaining table. But despite all this, despite her unprecedented impact on the sport, despite making everyone richer and the league healthier, Caitlin Clark continues to face disrespect and dismissal from the media. And this latest snub from Time magazine might just be the most embarrassing example yet, especially when you find out exactly who from the WNBA managed to make the list instead.
That's right, clap it up. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, the founders of the Unrivaled Basketball League. Time named Unrivaled co-founders Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart to the 2025 Time 100, its annual list of the 100 most influential people in the world.
That's right. Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart were both named to Time's prestigious 100 Most Influential People list, but Caitlin Clark, shockingly, was nowhere to be found. Now let's be clear, I'm not here to throw shade at these two incredible athletes. Collier and Stewart are stars in their own right, and you absolutely have to respect and applaud them for stepping up off the court and launching a separate basketball league, one that's clearly coming from a good place and is genuinely trying to make things better for players. As the write-up from U.S. soccer star Alex Morgan accurately stated, the dynamic duo stuck their necks out there to give players a chance to make money in the U.S. during the offseason instead of having to relocate their families across the globe. And you know what? That's completely true, admirable, and deserves recognition. But let's be brutally honest here. Do you know who has actually done the absolute most in practical terms to increase pay and dramatically improve economic opportunities for women basketball players across the board? You already know the answer. Caitlin Clark isn't just a generational talent on the court, she's become the literal economic engine of the WNBA. Last season alone, Caitlin drove viewership and attendance numbers through the roof. She was personally responsible for nearly 27% of the league's total economic activity. Think about that. Over a quarter of all WNBA revenue can be directly traced back to Caitlin Clark. In fact, it's estimated that 1 out of every 6 tickets sold league-wide was because fans wanted to see Caitlin play. She single-handedly transformed the Fever into must-see TV, generated record-setting attendance, and attracted hordes of new fans, media attention, and sponsorship dollars into women's basketball. And this unprecedented momentum, the Caitlin Clark effect, is exactly what players like Collier and Stewart will leverage in the upcoming collective bargaining negotiations. Caitlin's star power has provided undeniable proof that women's basketball deserves bigger checks, bigger TV contracts, and bigger respect across the board. Yet somehow, incredibly, Time magazine didn't consider her one of the world's most influential people. Come on now, that's more than just a snub. That's flat out absurd.
The same page with Collier, lob it ahead, Stewart, sling it, Lloyd on the move, untouched.
What Nafisa and Breanna did with Unrivaled was absolutely noble, but let's get real and look at the numbers. Investors poured nearly $9 million into player salaries for the first season of Unrivaled, which ultimately generated around 11.9 million total viewers. Now, I'm not saying that's terrible, it was only their first season, but let's put this into perspective. The teaser clip alone for Caitlin Clark's upcoming collaboration with Dude Perfect pulled in over 12 million views by itself. Seriously, a teaser. Just imagine what the full video is going to do. For context, Dude Perfect is a social media powerhouse. They've racked up over 18 billion views across their platforms. They boast more than 60 million subscribers on YouTube alone. To put that in perspective, that's more subscribers than even the NBA's official YouTube channel. Their brand is wholesome, family-friendly, and most importantly, massively influential among young sports fans. Exactly the demographic the WNBA has been desperately trying to capture for years. A collab between Caitlin Clark and Dude Perfect isn't just entertainment. It's a direct gateway for millions of new viewers, especially younger, predominantly male fans who might not otherwise tune into women's basketball. This single collaboration, leveraging Caitlin Clark's star power, will bring in more new fans and more buzz to women's basketball than the entire first season of Unrivaled did. And that's the difference. Unrivaled was created primarily for the players. Caitlin Clark's appeal is directly for the fans. Look, I'm not even saying you need to remove Nafisa and Brianna from Time's list, but Caitlin Clark unquestionably deserves a spot as well. So why exactly is she missing from the list? Why does the media keep sidestepping and downplaying her massive influence? Well, it all circles back to this.
I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said,
Sheila is one of the co-owners of the Washington Mystics, one of those teams that for 2 consecutive seasons now has moved their home games against Caitlin Clark and the Fever into a full-sized NBA arena. Why? Simple. To cash in on Caitlin's enormous star power and maximize their revenue. But when it comes to publicly acknowledging who deserves the credit for this massive spike in attendance, viewership, and overall buzz, Sheila won't do it. Instead, credit always seems to get conveniently and evenly distributed. She and others like her choose to downplay Caitlin's individual impact, even though privately, their actions clearly demonstrate otherwise. And let's be crystal clear here. Caitlin herself has done everything right. She's gone out of her way, time and again, to give credit and respect to current WNBA stars and the trailblazing pioneers who laid the foundation for the league. She routinely praises her peers and highlights the collective efforts of players past and present.
And I love that. I love that she's not the player who's like, it's all about her. It's not. She's giving love and homage to those of us that have come before her. She shares the wealth with her teammates, and she doesn't have to do that. So I just don't, again, I don't know what the big deal is about the fact that Caitlin is getting a lot of love. She deserves that, and she's helped change this game just as a lot of other players have.
But it's never enough. And honestly, it probably never will be. There's a strange obsession, a deliberate ongoing effort to downplay Caitlin's impact, or even worse, to try to take her down a peg whenever possible. We've seen it happen countless times by now. Remember ESPN's list of the top 5 college women's basketball players? They literally used Caitlin Clark's image in the thumbnail front and center, and even featured her name prominently in the headline to get those clicks. And then, once they had everyone hooked, they proceeded to rattle off her unmatched accomplishments.
The way she has dominated the record books when she was at Iowa was something you cannot duplicate. She's a 3-time NCAA scoring leader and assist leader, a true point guard for the people, 3-time All-American, 2-time Naismith Player of the Year, 2-time AP Player of the Year, all-time leading scorer. She broke the records of Kelsey Plum and Sabrina. Like, literally, there is nobody who has been such a front-facing name. It through a direct reflection of her skill set, but how can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
But after building her up, hyping the audience around her name and achievements, they somehow didn't place her in the top 5. And when the media isn't busy moving the goalposts, they're flat out complaining that the only reason Caitlin Clark is popular is because of her skin color. It's gotten embarrassingly predictable at this point.
There's a lot of things that I will say are in bad faith. The word embarrassing is the only word I can use to describe what this article is.
Recently, a Guardian article tried to claim that Caitlin Clark's fans weren't cheering for Paige Beckers because Paige had been more vocal on social justice issues, which apparently made them uncomfortable. The piece went as far as suggesting that many Caitlin fans were primarily supporting her because of her race, not because of her talent or accomplishments. Then we had ESPN analyst Monica McNutt echoing a similar point, saying Caitlin's popularity and mainstream draw were largely connected to her skin color.
But I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
Look, this argument is tired. It's lazy. It's a weak excuse designed to distract from the real reasons Caitlin Clark is popular. Fans are drawn to Caitlin because she's electric, exciting, and relentlessly great at what she does, not because of any simplistic narrative about race.
First of all, not all fans of Caitlin Clark are white. This is so apparent as a member of social media who interacts with a lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
There are countless fans from all backgrounds, cultures, and ethnicities who are completely obsessed with Caitlin's game.
Talking about, it's only middle America. It's only middle America. So what the hell does middle America have to do with the fact of calling it white America? Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. This is Uganda. We are looking at Uganda right now. And there are people wearing there are a bunch of girls wearing Iowa t-shirts.
So why does the media keep downplaying Caitlin Clark's influence or insisting her popularity is based on something else? Well, here's a hint from a recent article in USA Today that has Caitlin fans absolutely fuming. The piece essentially puts Clark's fans on blast, saying they need to learn from their mistakes from last year. Translation: fans shouldn't dare to falsely elevate Caitlin or overly defend her, nor diminish other players. Everyone, according to them, must receive equal recognition. Sound familiar? It's exactly the same sentiment we heard earlier from Sheila Johnson. Spread the credit evenly, regardless of reality. But here's the problem. It is overwhelmingly clear that Caitlin Clark is the catalyst behind the recent explosion in growth and popularity for the WNBA, and yet many in the league's orbit simply can't accept it. Players, media, and even owners appear jealous, determined to get their share of credit, whether it's deserved or not. It's bizarre because we don't see this dynamic play out like this in any other major sports league. Think about it. In the NBA, NFL, and MLB, the leagues don't twist themselves into knots, making sure every single player is equally celebrated. Stars get their spotlight, plain and simple. Look at Major League Soccer, MLS. When David Beckham arrived, it was like the Beatles had touched down in America. He got all the attention, and the league embraced it fully. And now, with Lionel Messi dominating headlines, ticket prices have soared, fans are flying in from everywhere, revenues are skyrocketing, and no one, not the league, not players, not fans, is bending over backwards trying to ensure every lesser-known player gets equal recognition. So why is the WNBA treating Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise differently? Why can't they fully embrace and celebrate the superstar who is single-handedly pushing women's basketball into unprecedented territory? Why is there this constant need in the WNBA to diminish one of their greatest assets rather than lifting her, and, by extension, the entire league, even higher?
Like, the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise. They don't rise to the level of Caitlin Clark games, but the non-Caitlin Clark games continue to rise, and people keep fighting over the context. And the way I've tried to put this is there is no with and without Caitlin Clark. It's not like it does this with Caitlin Clark, it does this without Caitlin Clark. It's all in conjunction with Caitlin Clark. I mean, it's common sense, right? That when a whole bunch of new people join, in large part because of Caitlin Clark, they then get interested in other things. They then start following other teams. And the platform then becomes bigger for new stars to rise.
Exactly. This is the same situation. In every major sport, it's understood that star power benefits everyone involved, elevating the entire game. Star athletes naturally attract attention, spark new interest, and grow the sport's popularity, ultimately helping every single player and team. But for some reason, the WNBA seems to operate differently. It feels like there are simply too many egos involved, unwilling to embrace or even accept the scale of attention Caitlin Clark is bringing. Think about it. Nobody seemed to have a problem when Breanna Stewart or Sabrina Ionescu got their moment in the spotlight. The league celebrated them, the media championed them, and fans enjoyed watching their impact on the game grow. And it's crystal clear the WNBA is already rolling out the red carpet for Paige Beckers, treating her as the next great face of the league without hesitation. But Caitlin? Her impact is simply on another level, far beyond anyone else's. Her popularity, her influence, and her ability to drive massive growth is unparalleled. She's not just another star, she's become a cultural phenomenon. And it seems that for many within the WNBA orbit, this is too much to handle.
Boston. Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
The issue isn't Caitlin herself. The real issue is that her success has become too big, too fast, overshadowing everyone else's impact. And that's simply more than some egos in and around the WNBA can handle. Until another player comes along and generates equal or greater buzz, they'll continue to find subtle, or sometimes not so subtle, ways to bring Caitlin back down a peg. Now let's be clear. I genuinely think most of the players in the league actually like and respect Caitlin. They understand the value she brings to the table. But the media, and especially those who directly profit from her, seem fundamentally unable or unwilling to fully acknowledge her influence. Take Time magazine, for instance. They basically had no choice but to name Caitlin Athlete of the Year, and even then, they got blowback from the old guard who felt she was getting too much credit too soon. And ever since that moment of recognition, crickets. Caitlin herself probably doesn't mind. She's proven to be diplomatic, humble, and completely unfazed by the drama. But for the new fans she's drawn in, fans who need time and encouragement to become genuine, long-term WNBA supporters, this treatment is confusing and frustrating, and makes it hard to like the league as a whole. Growing a dedicated fan base takes years, and the media's continuous pattern of minimizing Caitlin's impact or lecturing her fans about how they're allowed to enjoy the sport isn't helping anyone. This upcoming season, with all the star additions and new talent surrounding Caitlin, combined with unprecedented demand for tickets and media coverage, is set to completely eclipse even last year's groundbreaking success. We've seen WNBA legends openly come forward and celebrate Caitlin's contributions. Because, again, the players get it, they genuinely respect her. But the media? They're still clinging to their tired, share the credit narrative. They need to tread carefully, because if they continue to overplay this forced fairness, they risk alienating the very fans they desperately need to grow the league. If they're smart, they'll finally give Caitlin the recognition she deserves, and let the rest of the pieces fall into place naturally. If you're still here, drop a basketball in the comments to say hi. Thanks for watching.